On Capitol Hill, the Senate confirmation hearing for Supreme Court Justice nominee Sonia Sotomayor begins today. If confirmed, Sotomayor will become the nation's first Latina justice and only third female justice. Here in New York, the Bronx neighborhood where she grew up is celebrating that one of their own could soon have a lifetime seat on the nation's highest court. This is Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz, Jr.
We know collectively in the city of New York that she is a person that has never forgotten her heritage, her culture, where she comes from. It makes me happy that whenever she gives speeches outside of New York, that she always talks about where she's from the Bronx, from the projects in Bronxdale, that she's a New Yorican.
Monsignor James White of the Blessed Sacrament Church in the Bronx also praised Sotomayor.
But for the students, just knowing that there's hope that they can be whatever they want to be if they put the work into it. And as I said, evidently she worked very hard and just gave a lot of hope in the future to the community, especially to the Bronx, because sometimes people think of the Bronx as other than what it is. But it gave them a lot of hope.
One of Iran's most senior clerics issued an unusual decree on Saturday, calling the country's rulers usurpers and transgressors for their treatment of opposition protesters in recent weeks. The New York Times reports Grand Ayatollah Hossein Ali Montazeri's decree marked the strongest condemnation by a religious figure since the contested presidential election a month ago. The 87-year-old Montazeri was a leader of the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran, as was once designated the successor to Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. In Iraq, 5 Christian churches were bombed on Sunday, killing at least 4 people. Meanwhile, a roadside bomb hit a convoy carrying U.S. Ambassador Christopher Hill. The bomb barely missed Hill's vehicle and caused minor damage to another one. The bombing is believed to be the first direct attack on a U.S. ambassador since the war began in Iraq in 2003. In Afghanistan, 4 Marines died Sunday in 2 separate roadside bomb blasts. On Friday, 8 British troops died. Overall, 192 foreign troops have been killed so far this year in Afghanistan, a 40% jump from the same period last year. More British troops have now died in Afghanistan than in Iraq. Meanwhile, President Obama has ordered national security officials to look into allegations that the Bush administration resisted efforts to investigate a CIA-backed Afghan warlord over the killings of at least 2,000 Taliban prisoners in 2001. We'll have more on this story later in the broadcast. Exiled Uyghur leader Rabia Qadir appeared on Capitol Hill Friday with lawmakers who introduced a resolution to condemn China's repression of Uyghur protests in western China. Democratic Congress member Bill Delahunt of Massachusetts called on China to end the violence against the Uyghurs.
We urge all of our colleagues to join myself and Congressman Rohrabacher in supporting this resolution that condemns the violent crackdown on peaceful Uyghur protests and calls upon the Chinese government to stop its irresponsible slander of Rabia Qadir.
Rabia Qadir, who runs the World Uyghur Congress, accused the Chinese government of cracking down violently on protesters in the Xinjiang region of China.
Just like Chinese government's brutal killing and murder of the pro-democracy students in 1989 at Tiananmen Square, the same thing that took place last Sunday. The Chinese authorities brutally killed and wounded hundreds of people.
And in Honduras, the military-backed government has lifted a curfew imposed following the coup that ousted President Manuel Zelaya. Meanwhile, 2 members of the opposition political party Unificación Democrática have been assassinated. Also, over the weekend, Honduran police detained 6 employees of the regional television network Telesur and Venezuela state-run station Venezolana de Televisión. The journalists were taken to police headquarters for 5 hours, and their passports were confiscated. Larry Sanchez of Telesur said, quote, "They told us we should leave the country because our security wasn't guaranteed and we were riskier. We have intelligence and we're following you," he said. Honduran soldiers also arrested Telesur journalists at gunpoint in their hotel rooms on June 29th and later let them go. Telesur is a regional television network funded in part by the Venezuelan government. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. We're broadcasting on over 800 stations, on Pacifica and NPR stations, as well as on low-power FM and college and community radio stations. We also are broadcasting on public access TV and PBS TV stations and both TV satellite networks. On Dish Network, channel 9415 Free Speech TV, 9410 Link TV, and on DirecTV, channel 375.